Hey y'all, welcome back to Tobacco Leaf Legacies. This is Cheryl, and today we have another brew and review. This one I am really excited about. Have y'all heard anything about this? Let me preface this video by saying that I'm a bit of a health nut. And when I say that, I mean that I have been working out since, goodness, high school. I'm always trying to eat right. I try to eat organic. I try not to take pills, on and on and on. You get the idea. Well, I ran across this. It was probably like an Instagram post, or it could have been YouTube, looking for something else. You know how that goes. And I had so much going on at the farm that I couldn't focus. I couldn't do this. There was no way to read this and incorporate this into my life at the time because everything was just too topsy-turvy. So as soon as I got home, I ordered my book and I got to reading. And I was fascinated by this book. I mean, I absolutely love it. The information in here is incredible. We'll kind of get into that a little bit. And so what we're doing, I'm doing the book review video now. I'm also doing, because there is a little program we'll call in here to kind of try to get yourself straightened back out a little bit because of what he talks about in the book. And we're starting that today as well. And so what I thought I would do with that, for those of you that are interested. Now, for those of you that are not into health stuff or whatever, maybe you've already turned the video off, and that's totally fine. But for those of you that are struggling with some issues, or maybe there's, some big pharma drugs that you would love to get off of or not have to take as much, or, maybe there's a few pounds you'd like to lose. I mean, I don't know, but this really covers everything. So if you're interested in your health, if you've got some issues that you're trying to get straight like me, and you're willing to try some things to see if it will help, you may be interested in the little video diary that I'm going to call it, that has to do with when I start the program. So that way, it'll take me, now I'm going to be on it for 3 months, so it'll take me a while to do it. But when it does come out, you'll be able to see, okay, did it work? Did it not? And that really is where it's at. Did it work or did it not? So let's get into talking about this book. Okay, as I said, Stephen Gundry, he is an MD, and he wrote this book called The Plant Paradox: The Hidden Dangers in Healthy Foods That Cause Disease and Weight Gain. And I guess kind of the underlying premise of this book is him talking about lectins. Now, that's not all of it, but it is a big part of it. Lectins are plant defense chemicals that the plant basically has because it doesn't want you, predators, animals, whoever, to eat it. The plant wants to go on living, and it wants its little babies to go on living. And so it has these things in it that it does not want you to eat. So when we, or an animal, whatever, eat these things, it causes problems. As far as we're concerned, we have been eating some stuff for so long that we've got so many issues that it's kind of hard to go back far enough to try to figure out what exactly is causing this. And that's what I like about this. Excuse me, because he kind of takes it back to what I feel like, and I think what he feels like, is the actual root cause of what's happening. I love this book. It was really, really cool. Let's get into this. Okay.
What do you think about the cover?
I think the cover is fine. It actually took me a few tries, because when I looked at it, I just kind of saw red and was like, okay. But if you look at it, hopefully that is focusing on that. It's a tomato. Can y'all see that? Yeah, it took me a few times before I really looked at it and went, oh, that's what that is. The name is fine. It's very appropriate. So, yep, cover's perfect.
Is the title an accurate representation of the story?
The title is accurate. I'm actually a little surprised, given how much the book talks about lectins, that is not somewhere here or here. It's not on either side. I don't know why Dr. Gundry did that. Who knows? It really is not relevant to anything. I just thought that that was kind of interesting once I got to reading and realized that that's, so much of what the book was about. It's like, oh, well, that wasn't on here. But yeah, very accurate.
What did you learn from the book?
What did I learn from the book? Oh, y'all, we could be here a while. I got my notes. I'm gonna read you what I learned, okay? All right. I learned all about lectins and what they do in the body. I learned about fruit and how our ancestors consumed it a lot less than we do, and how it contributes to weight gain. You heard me right. I learned just how important your gut bugs are to the body's overall health. That is something that he talks about in the book a lot. We have a gut microbiome, essentially, that has got all sorts of stuff in there. We can have good stuff or we can have bad stuff. And the bad stuff, of course, causes bad things, makes us crave bad things. But the good ones, the good stuff, does all sorts of good things. And it promotes being healthy. It promotes healthy cravings. Night and day difference with that. Okay, I learned about the two types of seeds. The ones designed to be eaten and the ones that the plants don't want you to eat. I learned more about the causes of leaky gut. That is something that a lot of people have problems with. Well, you learn about it in this book. I learned what A2 milk is and why that's much better for you than regular milk. I learned about WGA. It is wheat germ agglutinin. I think I'm saying that right. And why it's dangerous to consume. I learned that whole grains are actually quite unhealthy for humans and how they were once considered peasant food. That's right, whole grains are not really your friends. I learned that 90% of all the cells that constitute you are non-human, and that 99% of all the genes in you are non-human. I learned that we are a complex network of signals. I learned that the microbes in your gut, control most of you. And this is just some highlights that I wrote down because I actually went through, I forgot to tell you this, I actually went through and took notes. When I read these kinds of books, oh yes, I go through, it's like study time, and I take notes and all sorts of stuff. So I went back through my notes, and that is just some of what you can learn in this book. And I realized that, some folks are probably saying, oh, well, but wait a minute, everybody talks about whole grains being so good and this, that, and whatever. There are some things in here that it'll make you question what you're hearing as far as being healthy. Because you got to remember, if you're watching a commercial or something like that, these people, these companies, for the most part, are there to make money. They're not there to make sure that you're healthy. And so companies will jump on the bandwagon of whatever is popular. Whatever the people are buying, they will jump on that and they will kind of go running with it. Whereas, sometimes you kind of have to stop and go, well, okay, but wait a minute. Is this actually healthy? Is this actually a good thing? It's kind of like years ago, back in the 80s, when they said, oh, cholesterol is so bad, don't eat eggs. Okay, eggs are actually one of the healthiest things that you can eat because of what's in it, and it in no way contributes to cholesterol. That's something that, has been confirmed the last number of years. So, sometimes we just have to take a little bit of time and look at that. So there are things in the book that he will say like that, and you will stop and go, but wait a minute, my doctor said this is healthy. Yeah, it's not. It's not, but he explains why, and that's what is so wonderful about it.
What is your favorite quote or chapter?
My favorite quote. I did have a favorite quote. It was actually not by Dr. Gundry, though. He used a quote by Thomas Muffet. Now, I had not heard of Thomas Muffet, but he lived in the late 1500s and he was an English naturalist and physician. This was his quote: "Men dig their graves with their own teeth and die by those fated instruments more than the weapons of their enemies." Think about that for a minute. I read that and went, oh, that's brilliant. It comes down to food is either helping you or it's hurting you. And it's a really hard topic to discuss with some people because let's face it, if something doesn't taste good to you, you're not going to want to eat it. And so much of what we think of automatically as tasting good is really not good for us at all. And trust me, I am just as guilty of this as everybody else. You want good food. You want something where you eat it and you're just like, oh my God, that's so good. Yeah, that's probably usually not a salad. It's usually something that, we should not be having. So food is crucial. Every single thing that you're putting in your mouth, it's either helping you or it's hurting you. Why doctors don't dwell more on this baffles me. And I know y'all know what I'm talking about. When was the last time you went to your regular doctor, your regular MD for a regular checkup? Do they ask you about food? If you go in with a concern, do they stop and say, okay, but what are you eating? What are you drinking? Let's look at that first because maybe we can make some changes there and you'll feel better. No. Usually, now there's exceptions to the rule, of course, but usually what you hear is, oh, well, we can prescribe you so-and-so for that. Okay, well, maybe it'll help and maybe it doesn't, but the problem is it's not what's causing it. All you're doing is masking it, and more than likely it's going to cause 3 or 4 more things that then you're trying to fix as well. They're not taught nutrition. They're just not taught nutrition the way that they should. They're taught what to prescribe. They are taught, here's a symptom, here's a pill for it, and there you go. I desperately wish that doctors would focus more on food because it is 100% helping you or hurting you. And when you have something that is wrong with the body, that is your body crying out to you saying, look, what you're giving me, I can't use. It's causing everything in here to not work correctly. And I need something different. And it's not a pill. And the part in the what did I learn part about the signals, that is something that gave me something to think about because I had never thought about the body like this. But we are pretty much a big old jumble of signals. You've got the gut, which is signaling things to the brain. You've got the brain signaling things back to the gut. You've got organs signaling things. You've got, every single cell in your body that is signaling. Everything is a bunch of signals. And one of the things that happens when you're eating the wrong food is that it's affecting all of that signaling. And when it's affecting all of those signaling processes, then the body's not working right. It's not getting the right signal. Think about a traffic light. When it's not working right, when those signals aren't in sync the way that they're supposed to be, what happens? There's an accident, there's a backup, people don't know what to do. It's a mess. So I thought the signaling especially was very cool. But as far as the quote, I think that has become one of my new favorite quotes because it's true. This has got so much control over our health.
What new questions do you have after reading this book?
What new questions? Lots of questions. Probably hundreds. Okay. Dr. Gundry is very thorough So as you read the book, you're getting full explanations, which is great. Instead of just saying a little bit about it and then kind of leaving you, he is really thorough. He wants you to understand what is happening. There are a few parts I'd like to read more about. The first is about our ancestors. He goes into a bit about that, especially where it talks about the fruit. That way back, okay, we're going way back, not just a couple hundred years, back to our like primal ancestors, we'll call it. They didn't have fruit year round. They didn't have markets and grocery stores to go to. So they only had fruit when it was ripe, which was usually in the spring and summer. And what that did with the body is it caused them to put on a little bit of weight, preparing for the winter. So that way, when winter happened, the body had a little storage happening that it could pull from until the next year. Well, our bodies still function like that, but yet we've got fruit 24/7. So in a sense, our body keeps storing and preparing for a winter that never comes because we have it year round. And there are some other things like that that I think is fascinating to learn. Again, going back to like our primal ancestors, because we still carry so much of that. Yes, we have had years and years and years and years of evolution, and that's fine, and that has changed some things, but it has not changed everything. And I think going backwards and kind of understanding more of how they ate and how these systems work help us understand today. You're not going to change your system. We're not going to change how our systems work. So we need to work with them instead of working against them. And I feel like, kind of after reading this book, we're doing an awful lot of working against it, not giving it what it needs, but yet expecting it to give us this perfect life. So I would love to find a book that talks about primal ancestors and how they ate and hunted and all that good stuff. The other thing that I would like to know more about, because he mentions this in the book a lot, is the mitochondria. And I know that that's very important in the body, the cells, and how that works. And so I would like to read a bit more about that.
Did it inspire you to change anything in your life?
It absolutely inspired me to change. After I've already mentioned how I came across him, and how when I got home, I immediately got the book, immediately started reading it, and I am very excited to start his little program. Now, I am also equally not excited to start his program because it means removing foods that I eat fairly regularly. And and full disclosure, I'm not a veggie loving person. Not a veggie loving person, not a salad loving person. Yes, I eat them. I don't love them. I mean, let's face it, if I could live off of like mac and cheese and cake, if I could find a way to do that and be healthy, I probably would. But I cannot. So while I am very much looking forward to feeling better, hopefully, feeling better, being better, getting the signaling, right again. While I am so looking forward to that, like I said, I am just equally not really looking forward to having to change some of the food to stuff that I don't usually eat. But this is my commitment to it, though. You get to a point where you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. Right? I know you've heard that before. You're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. And when you reach a certain point where you've had enough, where you're just like, that's it, I'm done. This is over. We're going to get better. That is when you become open to other things, other avenues, other choices, other options, whatever you want to call it, to try to make yourself better. And that's where I'm at. I have struggled for 10 years. I've kind of mentioned here and there in other videos, you know, Mom passed in 2013, and I had excessive grieving for 3 years. And I really think that that was the catalyst for getting my body so out of whack that it hasn't recovered. As soon as I kind of started feeling better from that, my dad passed. And that opened up an entirely different can of worms, legal stuff to have to contend with. I have mentioned how our land was split. We have the other side. I've not gone into detail with that, but it has caused and is currently still causing a lot of stress and concern and such in my life. And so add into everything that was going on at the farm and what I was doing with that, y'all, I've had 10 years of hell. I mean, I really have. And my body is telling me all about it. It's not happy. It doesn't like what I'm putting it through, how I'm reacting to things. I can't handle emotional stuff the way that I could 10 years ago. So things happen in our life that take a toll on us. And if we don't do something to kind of help the body, we're not going to heal and we're not going to get better. At this point, I have spent too much of my life trying to be healthy, trying to eat fairly well, working out, on and on and on, that, you know, I'm kind of done. I'm kind of done with it. So I am very willing and very inspired by this to make these changes, to make them for a brief time, and then to observe. See how I feel, see what things get better. Do they not get better? Because that's really where it's at. I've said before, it's always about getting the results that you want. So I'm very inspired. So let's cross our fingers that it works.
Is it easy to understand?
Yes, you would think that a book like this that, is talking about health stuff and all that it may not be an easy read, that it may be difficult for you to understand as you're going through. I have been a big researcher as far as health stuff for 20 plus years. So I've got a lot of research hours in. I've got a lot of information in my head. I can't always recall it all the time, but I've got a big understanding of this kind of stuff. But even without that, I feel like somebody who is not a researcher, who doesn't spend a lot of time trying to look up stuff, you can understand this. You can follow this. Even when he starts talking about the like sciencey kind of stuff that I call it, he explains it in such a way, and he uses metaphors, and that's what I like. He takes a concept, something he's trying to explain, a process that's happening in the body. He will take it and turn it into a metaphor, and he will frame it in such a way that you immediately get what he's saying. You immediately understand. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, I get that. He talks about like preparing for a war, the bit with the fruit and how the body likes to try to store fat in the spring and summer for the upcoming winter. He kind of refers to that as like preparing for war. So, the winter is wartime. So you've got to prepare and you have to get everything ready. And that's, kind of what the body's doing in a sense. And so when he does things, uses metaphors and such like that, as you're going through reading, it makes it very easy to understand.
What is the author's background on the subject?
This is a good question. It is always good to know somebody's background when you start reading things that are related to health. Is it someone like me who's just been doing a bunch of research and reading and I don't really have a degree? Or is it somebody that is their background and that's what went to school for and that's what that's what they do? So that is a good question. I'm going to read you this. Okay. He graduated, Dr. Gundry, he graduated from Yale University with honors. So, we're starting off strong there. And his senior thesis was about how food availability at different times of the year prompted the evolution of great apes into modern humans. I think that'd be very interesting to read. Okay, then he got his medical degree from the Medical College of Georgia, and then entered the cardiothoracic, I think I'm saying that right, surgery program at the University of Michigan. Later, he won a fellowship in research at the National Institutes of Health. He spent 16 years as a professor of surgery and pediatrics in cardiothoracic surgery and head of cardiothoracic surgery at Loma Linda University. Oh, we're not done. Okay. Let's see. His patients had all manner of, let me see, make sure I'm on the right here. Okay. His patients had all manner of health issues, including cardiovascular disease, cancer, autoimmune conditions, diabetes, obesity, and more. Dr. Gundry addressed some of his own health issues, and he realized the power that food truly had. Because again, that's where it's at, when you see the proof for yourself. He left Loma Linda and opened the International Heart and Lung Institute, and within that, the Center for Restorative Medicine, which he's still currently operating right now. He published his first book, Dr. Gundry's Diet Evolution: Turn Off the Genes That Are Killing You and Your Waistline, which I've not read yet. He also invented many of the devices used to protect the heart during heart surgery, and holds multiple patents on medical devices. The immune system and how it works has been at the core of his expertise and is what prompted him to start researching the lab tests and results of his patients and ultimately produce the knowledge contained in the book. Over the last 15 plus years, he's presented his findings at academic medical conferences such as the American Heart Association and published them in peer-reviewed medical journals. He knows what he's talking about. That's kind of the sum of that. He knows what he's talking about. Being a heart surgeon especially, well, and of course, anytime you're dealing with taking out an organ that was yours and putting in an organ that was not yours, you basically have to, that person has to take medication for the rest of their life because the body does not recognize that new organ and it wants to get rid of it. That is a natural system that's in the body. So in order for these type surgeries to be successful, the person has to continually take medicine that is, in a sense, suppressing the body's natural desire, natural processes to get rid of what it thinks is a foreign object. So the immune system is something he's been dealing with essentially from day one. And a lot of what the lectins do and such in the food affects that immune system. I mean, it affects everything, but I think kind of at its core, it's affecting your immune system, which then when that gets thrown into disarray, there's all sorts of health issues that come from that. So have no fear if you're interested in reading this book and learning more about this. He's an expert. He knows what he's talking about.
Are there other books by the same author that you'd like to read?
Oh yeah. I just mentioned his first one. But in, let's see, 2019, he wrote one called The Longevity Paradox. And in 2021, he did one called The Energy Paradox. And then in 2022, so just last year, he published one called Unlocking the Keto Code, the Revolutionary New Science of Keto that offers more benefits without deprivation. Based on what I have read in here and his researching and his information and all that, yeah, I am very interested in reading his other books.
Would you recommend it to others and/or would you read it again?
I would 1,000%, not just 100%, 1,000% recommend this book. And I will more than likely be referring to it like nonstop. I strongly encourage you, again, I kind of mentioned, if you're still watching this and you have some health issues and you would really like to feel better or get them straightened out, get on a better path, get off of some pills, that kind of thing, I strongly, strongly encourage you get this, read it, and then do his little program at the end of the book. Now, I can't say yet if you will feel better because I haven't done it yet. His program is only for 6 weeks. I'm choosing to do it for 3 months. I'm choosing to do it for a longer time period just to give myself more time to heal. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day, right? That's what they say. Well, when you have health problems, it didn't just happen yesterday. It didn't happen with that last pizza that you ate, or, you know, whatever it was. It happens over time. And so it's going to take a little bit of time to get feeling better again and get some things working like it's supposed to. So I have chosen to do it for 3 months. And in fact, maybe I'll show you real quick here. When you get to if you choose to, when you get to that part of the book, there's a phase 1 and a phase 2. See if I can hold that up. I think you can see that. So you start out with a 3-day cleanse, we'll call it. And I don't mean you're just juicing stuff for 3 days. It's not that. But you are eliminating a lot of food that may cause you issues. You're not going to have much meat. You're not going to have dairy. You're not going to have nuts. You're not going to have some things like that. And so this is actually what I'm starting on today. So for day 1, just to give you a little idea, from day 1 breakfast is a green smoothie, which he gives you a recipe for. And I have to say, it's actually not bad. I was surprised, but more on that. That'll be in the video blog. Okay, a snack is romaine lettuce boats filled with guacamole. Lunch is an arugula salad with chicken and lemon vinaigrette. Snack is romaine lettuce boats filled with guacamole again. Dinner, cabbage, kale saute with salmon and avocado. So you're really eating very, very clean and very, very specific, because it's actually, and he says this in the book too, it's actually more about what you're not eating. It's more about what you're not putting into your body. I have heard a couple people call this a kind of anti-inflammatory diet. And I guess in a way it is. There are foods that we eat, and it affects some of us more than others, just depending on your genetic makeup. But there are some foods that do cause inflammatory issues in the body. And anytime you've got inflammation in the body, that in and of itself is going to cause other problems. So there are trying out an anti-inflammatory diet is not uncommon. And a lot of people with, high blood pressure, people with arthritis, people with autoimmune conditions, these kinds of things, they feel better. They feel better, and some of their issues start to clear up. So that is what I am hoping for. So cannot recommend it enough, truly. If you have any health issue, and if you're like me and you're just tired, sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, get it, read it, try it. That concludes this brew and review. I hope that I have piqued your interest about this subject, about Dr. Gundry, about this book. I hope that, like I said, those of you that have got some health issues that you would love to get straightened out, order this book and read through it and start on that program and see if you feel better. Food is really where it's at when it comes to keeping ourselves healthy and getting rid of some of our health issues. It's so important. It's so important. And I really wish that doctors thought that it was more important. Get the book, try it out. Let me know, have you read maybe another book? Have you kind of done an overhaul of food in your life that maybe helped a medical condition that you had? I would love to hear about it. I would love to hear about it. Let me know. Health is so important, guys. It is so important. Yes, we love ice cream and we love mac and cheese and we love this stuff and it tastes so good. But if you're not here to eat it, not going to make a difference. And I feel like the quality of our life is very important too. Yes, we want to live longer. But if you've ever seen someone struggling when they were older, because they may have a long life, essentially, but they don't have a quality of life, that's really where it's at. And it is something that I have fully committed myself to. Like I said, 3 months I'm going to do this. And y'all, we're getting into Halloween, we're getting into fall, we're getting into Christmas. There's, in October, sometimes September, I love to go out and see what kind of pumpkin spice, goodies and treats and things that I can get. Okay. Well, I'm more than likely not going to be doing that, at least this year. And it doesn't mean, and let me kind of add to this too, in closing here, it doesn't mean that you've got to stick with his little program 100%. Some people have health issues that when they stop, it flares up, like big time flares up. So, that it kind of encourages them to stay on it. But sometimes it's just about getting on the program, getting your stuff, your body kind of back on the right track, and then maybe you can slowly add in things. Or maybe this is just going to give you information to where you decide to tweak your diet and not eat so much of the bad stuff. Maybe just make you more aware of, okay, if I eat this, I know what I'm doing. So let me just have a little bit instead of maybe what you would usually eat. Our health is just so, so important. So I hope you learned something. I know I learned so much from this book and I couldn't wait to share it with you. As always, time is precious, health is precious. Carpe diem, seize the day. I'll see you next time.